Welcome back to Cape Media News. I'm Lauren Williamson. Harwich residents, have you been missing the golf committee meetings? You may have to wait a bit longer for the meetings to resume. This week, after receiving a resignation letter from one of the golf committee members, the select board voted unanimously to postpone all golf committee meetings until June 30th, 2024.
We're in a situation that we are trying to make sure that we support our employees as we should. And to the earlier point made, it's interesting that when, we don't support employees or we're accused of not doing so anyway, or that we lose employees, it's this board's fault. And then at the same token, we met in executive session. We understand two employees' feelings on the situation, and I would say that I'm going to give the courtesy of just saying that there are a couple of members of this golf committee, and I think they know who they are. I won't mention their names, but I feel like our employees have not necessarily been granted that courtesy in the past, and the things that they've had to take from that criticism.
To say that the last 6 months has been difficult would be an understatement. And to say that I wish certain things had been done differently over the last 3 years would be incredibly accurate. I've come to realize, however, though, that this is not just about the golf committee. It's about something much bigger. And for me, it's about the way our town governs itself, how boards, committees, and employees work together for the greater good of Harwich to create and drive a vibrant community. And I want to make this clear, as both of my select board members here made clear, is this is not about the whole committee. This is definitely not about the whole committee. It's just a few. I would ask our public and our critics, what is a reasonable amount of time our town's employees, and I stress they're five-star employees, they're just not employees, they are incredible employees doing one hell of a job, should have to endure this difficult work environment, a day-to-day environment of public criticism, condemnation, having to deal with a few committee members who will not follow proper committee policy and procedure, false allegations, publicly being called a liar, and significantly micromanaging in the day-to-day operation of our golf course, to name a few. This may sound harsh, but in fact it is the truth. All by a few of the golf committee members that are there to simply hold public meetings and make recommendations to the select board. How long would you tolerate that environment at your workplace? So where I see the malfunction is right here with this select board. And I hold myself accountable as well for not supporting our employees. At some point along the way, it seems the golf committee has been elevated to a higher level of importance than our employees. That is unacceptable to me and should not be able to continue. And several months ago, and for just cause, this issue breached the threshold for union involvement and potential union grievance. This changes the gravity of this matter significantly. Due to the few members continuing not to follow the recommendations of the select board, the union made it clear to the town several months ago that the employees will not meet with the golf committee as presently constituted, and in best interest of the employees, should not meet publicly for fear of what some may say next at the next meeting. The select board is now out of options. I do want to say a special thanks to the union steward for working with us to prevent a grievance. You have been a professional from start to finish. What is very unfortunate is that a few of the committee members are creating this disruption for the rest of the committee and our town. If the committee members in question simply resigned way back or even today for the greater good, the golf committee would be back in business, effective immediately. We have been assured of that. The chair of the golf committee has been told months ago who those golf committees are and that they should consider resignation. So to answer the question of why we are here, I hope it's more clear now to the public and to the critics than before my narrative. Some feel the select board is attacking the golf committee and treating our volunteers with no respect for no reason. Nothing could be farther from the truth. And 3 years of time trying to resolve this problem proves just that. I would argue that some members of the golf committee did this to themselves, and now they are being held accountable. We cannot ignore the genesis of this issue. We cannot allow our town's employees to have to deal with this situation for one more minute or ever again. Now we have to make a choice, and it is a lose-lose choice. It's unfortunate, but be that as it may, We have to choose between a few on the committee or our town's employees. It's an easy one for me. So, Madam Chair, the way I see it is we have three options. Request the committee members in question resign so that the committee can reestablish immediately after the resignations. Send the two committee members to the interview committee for its review, or wait until the terms of the two committee members in question expire in June of 2024, and then let the Golf Committee reestablish.
This most recent resignation sparked backlash online after being shared to a popular Facebook group with a scathing post directed at the Select Board. Vice Chair Michael McCaskill took time to address the post and its author.
You know, to see that resignation put up on Harwich Old Timers and be tried in the court of Sandra Hall's own opinion, you know, it's almost like a sitcom at this point when you get sent clips from Harwich Old Timers with half the information. And I'll speak more to this when we bring up the subject, but 2.5 years, several members of the golf committee gone. Mm-hmm. The board put in a position where it's going to support its employees, which, depending on Sandra's mood at that time, she'll either crucify us for employees leaving, mm-hmm. or in this case, crucify us because we're protecting the employees. So the only one in the group that's lost their mind, and I'm quoting her, is Sandra Hall herself. And I hope that the public really pays attention to what's going on these social media sites, because it is destroying this town. And people wonder why we are losing employees and committee members, and why only one person will run for a board of selectmen seat. It's because of that nonsense. They can blame it as internally as they want, but Michelle Ryan's resignation was put up for a reason. And from the phone calls that I got from the people that were upset about it, I thank them for recognizing that she has lost her mind and is trying to control this town through a social media platform. It's a disgrace. And on this most recent post, she used the word diddling. And I'm not sure about all the residents of this town and what we're trying to teach our kids. But her reference to the Board of Selectmen diddling the golf committee, she should be ashamed of herself, and as far as I'm concerned, should not be allowed to be on our charter review committee that is our governing document of our town, that she's working so hard to change herself because she's not controlling the board and the employees, and it's driving her crazy. Sitting at this table for the last 8 years plus, it's always the hardest conversation when you have to talk about behavior and you have to talk about committee members, especially when you're dealing with the unofficial mayor of Harwich, who was one of the authors of the charter. But in that amount of time, and in the 3 years being attached to this, hasn't even brought up changing so that the golf committee is not in the charter. Why we need an advisory committee for golf in the charter is beyond me. Mm-hmm. I hope that as part of our review, we can figure this out. But more importantly, I hope we can figure out, when you have menaces on a committee, how we can remove them. Mm-hmm. We're never going to remove them inside of the guidelines of said Sandra Hall. We're never going to make a decision correct other than one board member. Mm-hmm. But a charter should have a process, or there should be a process for removal. Right. And I'm not sure, the word special employees have been thrown around, egregious action. Anyone that watches these meetings will see it. And Jeff said a few. I believe there's 2 employees, or 2 left on the committee. And I give this board some credit, because this board has done everything at this table. Whereas the last 2 resignations we had from a long-standing non-member of Cranberry Valley, more or less being run off that committee, that was all done outside of this room. Sure, because if it was sitting here, it would be that it went before the interview committee, and it did, because I said it should. But to finally get this thing out so the public can know, and the ones that want to comment, on the 12-year-old platform, Facebook, and argue like we're in high school behind a keyboard. They can continue to do that, but I think any member of the public that actually listened to what Select Board Member Handler just said and listen to the fact that this board is protecting employees is going to have a hard time going on a social media platform. And the ones that do are showing exactly what I said they were tonight, ridiculous.
Right. Thank you. And I think that you raised such another good point about social media, and here we are dictating to our kids how they should act on it, and we have adults all over town who actually shouldn't have any kind of membership in any kind of social media page if they can't actually vet information, understand that there's a public venue and it's not behind their keyboard and it's not to malign this board consistently every single time that we don't feel the same way they do and try to do it for the public good.